Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, guiding you through the trails of Glacier National Park. And if you're tuning in or listening to this episode, hopefully you have already listened to part one. We've got Tagen Vine as a guest in the studio from the Glacier Conservancy and learned a lot in the first episode, about who he is, where he's come from, what the Conservancy is, and a lot of the things, touches just on the surface of a lot of the things that the Conservancy has done for us, for the park, for everyone's enjoyment, all the way from, wilderness to wildlife and wonder, kind of how he summed it up, which we love. And as fools in the park, we have enjoyed so many things. Tagen, there are things that exist in the park that people may not be aware of. The Glacier Conservancy has funded or helped to fund, and kind of projects that are in the works. And like I said, we touched on the surface, but if you could kind of talk a little bit more about what's happening with the projects, what has been completed, and kind of where you're going and what the trajectory of the Conservancy.
Yeah, thanks. And again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I've heard about the Hiking Fools, and it's great to get to see them in person. And thanks for all you both do in the community as well. Really appreciate it. I think one of the things that you can experience, for anybody who's gone up to Sperry Chalet, before 9 years ago, they had a different experience than the folks who would go up to Sperry Chalet today. The hike isn't under a canopy for 6 of the 6.75 miles, right? So it's just out there. It's hot.
Late July, we just came down that trail a couple days ago.
But you got the view the whole time.
That's true. It opens up, yeah.
Right? You really get to see all the cliffs and the peaks and the waterfalls. Mm-hmm. And then you see the chalet from really far away, and it doesn't seem to get any closer for a while.
It's like sort of right there, but also forever away. And just keep one foot in front of the other, right?
Right. And then obviously with the fire that came along in 2017 and burned down the main chalet, the Conservancy very quickly rallied and put up the infrastructure around the walls right before the snow hit to hold those historical walls up so that they didn't crumble over the winter, and then raised dollars. And my predecessor, Doug Mitchell, and his team did an incredible job at using partnerships that they had, whether it was at government levels, federal, state, relationships from careers gone by, and pulling together the response, which is the Sperry Chalet that we see today. And I was just in there a couple of weeks, as you guys were, and wow, I mean, what an incredible job they did at trying to preserve the historical nature and going back and using the same materials and rocks and trying to put everything back exactly as it was, but it's a little bit newer and got a little bit more of a shine on it, and still got that wonderful dinner and breakfast or that flyby sando you can grab on a through hike or whatever, right? Like that's such a bonus up there. So
the meal you talk about for those 6.5 miles going up,
That's right. Yeah, whatever direction you're coming from. Yeah, it's like as we get older, I think we begin to talk about the post hike meal sooner and sooner. It used to be on the descent, like we're almost to the car. Where are we going to eat? Like I really want a burger or a piece of pizza or something. And then it sort of then it made its way to the middle of the hike. We're thinking, what time do you think we're going to finish? Could we get dinner? And now I think it's sometimes even before we start, like
the drive to the trailhead.
Especially Sperry Chalet though. What an experience. And we've got an episode out there about Sperry and some of the hikes that lead to it. And also I've got the Conservancy, used to have an annual event that we attended a couple of times, and we've got, as a gift, I think for attending and donating, we've got a piece of one of the timbers that held up the chalet in the transition there from the rebuild. And I just look at that sometimes and think, wow, that is cool.
That is cool.
And I met Phil Jackson there too, so that was being a big basketball Chicago Bulls fan from way back when.
I was living there in those days as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's right. Tagen and I share growing up in Wisconsin. So Midwesterners, still a good crop. Sarah from Michigan, but we love it out here. It's just like home kind of, but more spectacular.
Exactly. Yeah, a little bit more of the ups and downs.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Sperry Chalet, great project and a wonderful experience. Tagen, I don't know if you want to say more about Sperry, or there are some other properties within the park, right there near the west entrance of the park that the Conservancy is working on or has kind of rebuilt or.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. And thanks for pointing that out. I think right now we're in the middle of really a significant project. So up on the end of the lake, on the north end of the lake, on Lake McDonald Drive is the old historical Senator Wheeler cabin, and it's just down from the Lake McDonald Ranger cabin. And we have been doing the restoration on that log home for the last couple of years. Preserve Montana has been a great partner with us in coming in, and they do the preservation trades, so specifically geared towards preserving historical buildings. So to watch how they were working and trying to use the same kind of molding and then pull the glass out, replace a pane of glass, and then put that on in kind of that more historical perspective. There's still the daubing and chinking kind of thing that needs to happen in there. I guess daubing is what they did a long time ago. Chinking is what we do in log homes now. And then the oiling of the logs and some of those things. But there's still a chest up there that says Senator Wheeler when he got his Washington, D.C. documents, when he'd come to Montana to work for the summer, and they'd ship them out in these big crates and the chain of custodies and all those things. And the family would be out there. But Senator Wheeler had a big and really achieved some incredible things for Montana. And this place just really is, it's owned by the park now. And really want to just get it back to kind of its presence that it had when it was in its heyday. Also, it's a public place. There's bathrooms at the ranger station, and you can go there and learn a little bit more. We're not sure quite what programming will be happening at Wheeler Cabin. Maybe some historical talks, maybe some Native America Speaks, maybe some Peace Institute folks coming in and giving presentations, and could be a really neat spot for some education and interpretation.
So another very popular place in the park is obviously Logan Pass, and there's a terrific trail leading from there up and to the Hidden Lake Overlook, a boardwalk, as you mentioned, Tagen, is kind of constantly or consistently being restored, being looked at, being worked on because it's so heavily traveled. But the Conservancy has done so much.
I think if you go up there now, you'll see a bunch of timbers off to the side of the boardwalk currently, and the Park Service team will be coming in there to replace a lot of the old wood boardwalk. And as you said, the Logan Pass, the pressure on Logan Pass as far as visitation has gotten to the point where that trail really helps focus the traffic on an area that is wide enough to fit multiple groups of people moving at different paces, but not really having people walk off into the wildflowers and the tundra and kind of trampling that side areas that take decades and decades, if not hundreds and hundreds of years to grow back, right? For every footstep we put on some of that stuff, it might take 200 years for that piece to grow back. So just remembering that, and us to be able to have part of helping visitors visit the park in a safe way and use a trail so that everybody can enjoy all of the splendor around it. That's also why the reservations for the Logan Pass and the 3-hour time limit, when people are planning a trip to Glacier National Park, going to the Sun Road and Logan Pass are on that. Yeah. And with that 3-hour rotation, it's allowing a lot more of those folks who that's the pinnacle of their trip. And so it allows way more people to get there, maybe get a quick little Hidden Lake Overlook hike in, get back to the car with plenty of time to spare, and make room for others who want to experience Logan Pass. And then for folks who want to hike the High Line, you don't have half the Logan Pass parking lot taken up for the entire day for people who are doing through hikes and really bigger things. And I know it's a little bit of a hassle to try to get used to this, but it's really just the park looking for different ways to balance visitation and allow people that experience that they've been planning for, maybe for a lifetime, many of them, as well as what the wildlife and the wilderness piece and balancing all of those. And with a quarter less full-time park staff than they had 2 years ago, because we lost a lot of folks last year from the team. So they're really trying to focus their resources in the places where they're needed the most. And then the Conservancy can come in and take care of a lot of those things, the wilderness and the wildlife and the education and the wonder part of that. And the historical piece is part of that. So the Wheeler Cabin fits into that wonder kind of historical people and place.
Yeah, for sure. You said it is very symbolic. The pinnacle of a lot of visitors' trip is Logan Pass, and maybe departing on a hike from there, or just witnessing what surrounds it. And so it's very, very symbolic. The pinnacle of the trip is at the highest point on going to the Sun Road, and going if we travel up and over the Sun Road. I know we've talked about a lot of the west side part of the park, and in some of our other episodes, we'll split the park into regions, and very different experience on the west side from the east side. And in a moment, we can get into that a little further. Tagen, we're going to take a short break. Sarah, what do you think so far with Tagen?
It's amazing. I love what the Conservancy is doing. So we're so thankful to have you here so you can tell people about that.
Thank you, Sarah. Great.
Absolutely. Stick around, everyone. We'll be right back after a short break.
The best part of a long hike? The view at the top. The best part of Freedom Bank? Seeing our customers reach their goals. We bring you the tools to bank anywhere, the service you expect from a neighbor, and the determination to make things happen. Let's make your financial view as stunning as Glacier's peaks. Freedom Bank, we want to be your bank. Give us a call at 892-1776. Member FDIC.
For everything summer in Montana, think Snappy's. Snappy Sports Center is not only your fishing and hunting headquarters, they're also stocked with hiking boots, backpacks, camping gear, bear spray, and outdoor clothing for the whole family. Located on the corner of Highways 2 and 35 on your way to Glacier Park and away from the traffic on Highway 93. Forgot something? They probably have it. Need something? They definitely have it. Skip the traffic and stock up on adventure with Snappy Sports Center, a store like no other since 1947.
Welcome back, everybody. We are the Hiking Fools, talking with Tagen Vine, for the last little while here in a couple of episodes, and hope you've enjoyed it. We certainly have, learning so much, as we always do, Sarah, from our guests, and we're just thankful that you could join us, Tagen. And we were talking about kind of going up and over the road. We discussed a lot of things on the west side of the park, but some people stay on the east side or have experienced the kind of busier west side and want to go check out the east side. So as we sort of figuratively drive up and over the road here, what impact has the Conservancy had on the east side of the park, some of the locations there? And then you could maybe even go further into the overall influence that the Conservancy has had on the park.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, the east side's it's almost like being on a different park almost. Tree lines in a different place. You're starting up at a higher elevation. Obviously, it's been exposed to the winter elements a little bit more over there, and it's a much more kind of rugged landscape. And the flooding that happened in Many Glacier, with that evacuation at the end of June, there's going to be a lot of projects that come out of that, and Goat Haunt got almost twice as much rain as Many Glacier did. And so there's going to be bridges and some of those things on the trails, and our backcountry rangers are working on, I'm sure, taking an inventory of what needs to be done, and some of those things will be on the list. The Pecoonie Conservation Corps, Blackfeet Youth, working his Blackfeet-led program that's funded by the Conservancy, doing Conservation Corps kind of work, trail building and fence mending, and they do an awesome job over there, and got great leadership. And really a neat program. Obviously, we talked about Native America Speaks. You can go on the St. Mary's boat rides and have interp rangers there talking you through what you're looking at. 1.5 billion years ago, this rock was, when the glaciers came through, and then talking about the fires. You can see a glacier that's not visible from the road and not visible from a trail unless you're kind of going up that Pegan and kind of wiggling on over one of those little social side trails deals. So really just a cool experience over there. So funding those interp rangers over on the east side, the astronomy program on Wednesday nights at it depends on the time. I went at end of June, 11:15. We're like, oh my gosh, it's
stays
good thing we're
pretty
camping
late
in the campground. Right? And then the cabins that I mentioned with the School to Park program, I think there's about 8 or 9 of those that have been built out and have been placed in Many Glacier. And then, I think there'll be a lot that comes out of this flood. We're kind of waiting to see what some of the needs there are going to be as well.
Ready to show up for the park. Love it.
Yeah, and the increase of the impact, just the last year was $4.5 million that went to the park, right? So that was out of their 16 and some change budget. So it was about a quarter of Glacier National Park's budget. So their budget really hasn't changed much over the last 10 years. But during that time, my predecessor and the team at Glacier Conservancy have grown. The retail used to be $2 million 10 years ago. Last year it was 7.8. So then you take the net revenue of that 7. That's gross. So take that net revenue, and that gets combined with the philanthropy, which
regular visitors, local citizens, anybody, right? Anybody can get behind the effort by donating.
It's really, like you said before, if you buy a plushie or you buy a Cotopaxi fleece or a beanie or a sticker at the stores, that will get combined with philanthropic revenue that's grown from like 1.2 million to 4.8 million in the last 10 years, and the retail revenue and all that combined has allowed the park to be able to provide from 1.2 million to 4.7 million in the last 10 years. So the impact continues to grow, and it's all because of the generosity of donors to the Conservancy, as well as people who like to visit our stores or even the e-store. We've got an online store that captures a lot of the great things that are in our stores. Some of our stores have some slightly different merchandise, like the East Side store at St. Mary's has a lot more Blackfeet made products and designed and some of those things than we might find over at the West Side store. So there's different ways people can support the park and different ways that they can engage with the Conservancy as well as Glacier National Park if they just want to feel like they're around it. Join our book club. You can sign up for our book club on our website at glacier.org, and this year we're doing 6 different books. On July 8th, we just did Baited, a fiction book about a woman who worked on some research on the east side and really gave a neat perspective of kind of what her experience might have been like, but in a fictional twist. Our next one is about bear science, so more nonfiction and really focusing in on bear science. That'll be in September, and then our last one will be in November. We'll pick a new batch of books for 2027. We'll announce that with a little discount on a bundle and maybe a cute little sticker, and you'll be all good to go for Book Club 2027. Glacier Conversations is another thing you can sign up for. It's just Zoom. All these things are on Zoom. And the book club, we often have the authors right there to answer questions about experiences or what they were thinking, or were there humans that inspired this character, or some of those good book club conversations. Glacier Conversations, David Romer, superintendent of the park, and I will be doing the next Glacier Conversations coming up, so you can sign up for that one. And then the daily updates and a riff off the daily updates is the daily sunset, which is also a very cool one, just to get that little time-lapse video of all of our webcams too. So those are some different ways that you can engage with the Conservancy, no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah, right. Sarah, I know checks the webcams, I don't know, daily in all areas of the park.
Quite a bit, yes.
So that's another great resource for those of us out there just kind of wanting to understand more of the park in a complete picture. All right, Tagen, so much information, and we would love to kind of distill for our listeners, again, how can they be engaged? All of these different ways. Where can we point them? What are some of the other things that you do? Because we haven't even mentioned them all. I mean, we've got a photo contest and some other unique things, if you don't mind just mentioning those.
Yeah, I think, you can go to glacier.org and find a lot of these resources there, planning your trip, the webcams, obviously the online retail store, all those things. But in there, you'll also be able to noodle around and find the photography competitions that happen annually and the most spectacular photographs, whether it's the critters or just the view or the landscape, whatever it is. It's just top notch, and just the incredible photographers that we have coming in and out of the park on a daily basis. And it captures the energy around all of the folks who love Glacier Park. The book club, as I said, you can sign up for that. So yeah, the photography competition is an outstanding way for people to use that outlet and for us to gather amazing pictures for
Ends up on the
some of our
calendar,
publications,
right?
the annual calendar, the funding guide, the annual report, our little newsletters, all those things that help inspire folks and keep them in touch with Glacier. So many folks that don't live here get to experience it maybe for a couple weeks out of the year. So in the middle of November, if you can be at home wherever in the country and in a book club Zoom talking to an author that does bear studies in the park about a book that you just read, like that's a cool way to
really
keep
cool.
touch with Glacier National Park and just think about, like, as maybe you're thinking about next summer and where you want to go and which trails you want to hike or which campgrounds you haven't hit yet or what's on your bucket list, right? So cool to do that. Glacier Conversations, same kind of thing. We did something really neat this year. The Conservancy also helps fund the stock program in the park. And so every year there's maybe a few horses that need to retire and maybe not do so much of the heavy lifting, and that means they also need to be replaced. So this year we had a couple new horses, and we had a naming competition, and there were some brilliant names that were thrown about, and we landed on Wilbur. And so that was the winning after all the votes were taken and it all got narrowed down, which of course is a mountain in the park, and also Mr. Ed and some of those kind of wonderful historical shows that some of us may have grown up with a little bit. So yeah, we have a new horse, Wilbur, and that was just a fun way to just different ways that people will be able to engage. And I think if you follow us at glacier.org and follow us on LinkedIn and all your socials and stuff like that, really neat historical pictures. For those of you who see us on social media, you'll see 1947, the station wagon at Logan Pass with the family, or the dressed to the nines ladies on the horseback going from chalet to chalet. And you're like, how could they even breathe or step off the horse and walk on rocks in those outfits, right? So pretty remarkable to be able to just see the different points in history and, those same landscapes and those same flowers and critters and all those things, but the people are different and they look a little bit different, but they're enjoying the same space that we love today. And that's really what it's all about for us is, there are folks who thought far enough ahead to preserve this place for us. And, I know all of us want it to be here for generations to come, and it's been playing a more and more important role in access to a pure wilderness experience. And not many folks maybe get the outdoor wilderness experience as much as they used to. But from the visitation numbers we've seen in the last several years, I think, people are getting outside, and that's encouraging. And I know sometimes we're like, oh, it's so busy. You know what? We've been wanting people to get outside for decades, and we're so glad that they're here. So let's experience this park. Let's advocate for its continued preservation for generations to come. And I think when it comes right down to it, I think that's what the team at the Conservancy wants. That's what I know the National Park Service team wants. It is in their hearts. And I think we're all in the same place. We love that park, and we want to keep it with a special place it is today.
Absolutely.
Tagen, that's unbelievable. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and also so many of the ways that we can all engage with the Conservancy and therefore the park. Really appreciate you coming into the studio with us.
It's been a joy being with you guys. Thanks for your interest in the park and for all of the exposure that you give folks on how to have a great, enjoyable, safe trip to the park.
Excellent. Well, check out our Instagram page at Hiking Fools MT to see some great photos from our recent adventures, including our trip to Sperry and some of the trails that led us there. Tune in next time. Check out more episodes online. And remember to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, encouraging you to always go